Hello class, this is my friend Rick Bradshaw's 1970 Shadow Limousine. This is my 1985 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur. You want to know what my wife calls them? The money pit. Let's start class.
My name is James Cameron, and I love Rolls-Royces. And I want to welcome you to the Rolls-Royce and Bentley University Buyer's Guide. Let's start class.
Hi, I'm Jeff Kaplan, owner of Odometer Gears, and we're sponsoring this video.
Okay class, let's talk expense. And let's talk pre-expense. Now what do I mean by that? As I have said from the beginning of these classes, it's extremely important that you line up your mechanic, whoever's going to be working on your Rolls-Royce and Bentley, before you even consider purchasing one. And these are the things you need to know. Have they ever worked on one of these cars? And even if they haven't, if you have confidence in them, like for example, my mechanic, who you've met many times, Josh Wicks. Now, Josh has worked on a lot of older cars. He's also worked on a lot of newer cars, and he has worked on high performance cars. So because he has done that, and he has worked with a few of these type of cars, I said, okay, let's do it. And he has been instrumental in getting my car back. I have now had my car for 5 years. And all the mechanics that I had pre-Josh knew this but didn't know that, or so on and so forth, or said they knew something, they knew how to deal with them, and in reality, they didn't. Josh has now had my car back on the road within 1 year. The problem is it took me 4 years to find him. But that's why I'm saying make sure that you have your mechanic lined up. Now, he might not be a Rolls-Royce mechanic. He might not be a Rolls-Royce approved mechanic. But you know him by dealing with him or her, and you are confident that they can deal with your car. So that's the first thing. Make sure you have your mechanic lined up. Now, let's get down to brass tacks, shall we? How do you find parts? Well, the internet has changed everything. It used to be, back in the 70s and 80s and even parts of the 90s, if you wanted parts, you had to go to England. They had to ship it over. It usually took anywhere between a month to maybe as long as 3 months before you got your parts. Well, that is no longer the case. There are a number of ways in which you can find parts. The easiest way is by using a search engine called Google. What is Google and what is a search engine for those of you that are still in prehistoric days? Google is a search engine. That means you can put any question you want into it and it will come back and it will give you an answer. One of the easiest ways I know to find parts on my car is to put in my VIN number. You don't even have to put Rolls-Royce or Bentley. It's going to do it based on the VIN. And put in whatever part I'm looking for, new or used, or sometimes I'll put both in just to make sure. And it'll come up with all the different places where I possibly can get those parts. Another place that I have used, and it works extremely well, is eBay Motors. eBay Motors also has tremendous wealth of these parts that you can possibly get at a much less reduced price than going to a dealer, meaning Rolls-Royce or Bentley. Also, Amazon. Believe it or not, I remember Amazon when they were only books. Now, Amazon is everything. So you can go to Amazon, put in the parts, and see what comes up. Now, with Amazon, they don't have all the parts, but they will have a good number of the parts. And let me just stop right here and also tune you in. Even when you find the part, and it says you can get it for X amount of dollars, do not stop there. Keep searching, because you might find where one place says $200, and it's certainly less than the dealer that's asking $500. But maybe if you searched a little bit more, you might find another parts availability that's $150 or even less. I have done that numerous times, found out that the second or third search has now actually given me the lowest price. And more money that stays in your pocket, that is a very, very good thing. Now, going back to your mechanic, make sure that you ask them, especially if it's a mechanic that you have never truly used before, what their rate is. Many of them charge X amount of dollars, well over 100. Some charge less. Some might have a minimum. Well, I charge X amount of dollars and it's a minimum of 3 hours. Well, so depending on what they charge, if you know you're starting at 3 hours, it might be more than you can afford. So that's also a very, very important part. Make sure you find out what the hourly rate is and what their minimums are. Many mechanics, believe it or not, will only charge you up to the amount of time in which they've spent on the car. Others go by what is called the book. And the book tells them, even if it took them 15 minutes, if it was supposed to be a 3-hour job, they're going to charge you for the 3 hours. So that's another important part when it comes to costs of maintaining these cars. Now, one last thing I want to go over with you, class, is basically the situation of what makes you, the owner of your vehicle, comfortable. Some of you might say, well, if I deal with an authorized dealer, yes, I'm paying more money, but I know that they work on these cars. That's all the cars they work on. They should be able to work on my car. Well, another thing is also the person that I'm sending it to maybe doesn't work on these cars all the time. And the only car that they're working on is my car. Well, that's going to be a little sketchy, and it's going to be up to your comfortability and how you feel about that mechanic working directly on just your Rolls-Royce or Bentley. So as you can see, there's always gives and takes. But let me tell you something. Once you have done it for a number of times, and once you have now developed a flow as to where you can get your parts, who is going to be working on it, how long is it going to take for them to get it back on the road, and, of course, how much they're going to charge me, then you're home free. Because that is going to be your biggest expense, the labor and the parts. So, class, be well, be good. See you next time. Okay, class, let's get down, shall we? Do I know what I'm going to say? Of course I do. If you are coming to the Hampton Roads area and you'd like to take a historical tour in my 85 Rolls-Royce Silver Spur, go to our email address, drop a line, and I will respond to you.